Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Happy So What Day. I hope you're having a great start to your week. I hope that all of your holiday plans are coming together and that you're enjoying the weather, whatever that may be. I have to come clean a little bit and tell you all that this is a recorded So What. I pre-recorded this because I am currently in Germany on our craft tours, Bavaria and Austria Christmas market tour. And so I wanted to, not leave you hanging for so what, of course. And I have some great information to share with you and a great project that also makes a wonderful gift idea. So if you still have people on your list that you need to sew for, this project today is a great gift idea, no matter the gender, no matter the age, no matter the likes and dislikes of the recipient. It can literally work for everyone. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks and some expert advice for embroidering on fleece fabrics. Fleece is one of my favorite fabrics to sew. I love fleece pajama pants. I love fleece accessories, outerwear. It's great to sew on the serger, and you can also do a lot of no-sew projects with fleece because, as we all know, fleece fabric doesn't fray. So you can leave the ends raw, and then you can spend your time on the embroidery rather than on the sewing. So again, great quick gift idea, last minute gift idea, all those things. If you still have people on your list, things you need to make or buy, I highly suggest grab up some fleece fabric and you can create a number of no-sew fleece scarves with personalized embroidery. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into it all, I mentioned that I am currently in Germany. I know it looks like I'm in my sewing room, right? But I am in Germany on our Christmas market tour. I can't wait to come back and tell you all about it and share some photos and all of that of our great time that I'm sure we are having together. If you missed out on our Christmas market tour this year, you can start planning for next year because we will be headed to Germany, France, and Switzerland for a Christmas market tour in 2026. So you can start planning now, get on a payment plan if you need to, look at the itinerary, and join us next year. So we will be doing a Sulky factory tour in Germany when we are there. And there are a number of other just bucket list things in Germany, France, and Switzerland, not to mention all of the Christmas markets that we can possibly fit into this tour. Also, you'll notice these dates. We will be in this area for Krampus Night. And if you are unfamiliar with Krampus Night, it is December 6th, and it is when Krampus comes out of the depths to terrorize the little children and basically make them want to act nice and sweet and all of those things so that they avoid the wrath of Krampus. So this is very, very big, originated in Germany, and the young kids, I guess it's a rite of passage or something for them as they get into their teenage years, but they don all the Krampus masks and they come out, to the Christmas markets and things like that. And it is a sight to see. And we will be there for Krampus Night next year. So pretty fun and exciting addition to your holiday splendor. But at any rate, it's definitely something to see and something to have on your bucket list. So you can join us next year. And I'm certain that you will want to, especially after hearing about our fun trip that we had, or that we are having right now. All right, so you can also check out our other Craft Tours destinations. Be sure to visit the Craft Tours Sulky page, which I linked to directly in the description of today's post. And that way you'll be able to view all of the Sulky locations because there's so many trips that Craft Tours offers. So we are happy to have our own page there where everything lives, and you can check out all of these great bucket list locations, including Greece, where we are headed in May of 2026, and Bali. We are going back to Bali in July of 2026. This is a spectacular tour. If you love batik fabrics, this is the tour for you. We are going to be seeing how batik fabrics are made, and we are going to make our own batik yardage. I think I came home with like 4 yards of custom batik fabric. I got to pick my stamps. I got to pick the colors of my fabrics. And then you get to go on all kinds of fabric shopping sprees and buy up all the batik fabrics at a fraction of the cost. I actually have, where is it? I was going to say I had a jelly roll right next to me because I finally have figured out what I want to do with it. And I mean, I don't even know what I paid for it. $12 or something for like so much fabric. 12 American dollars, that is. Anyways, you get the idea. You can check out this itinerary as well on our Sulky Craft Tours page. And then also we are going to be going to Tuscany in 2027. So if you do need a little bit more time to plan or maybe budget out for this tour, this is a great time to sign up because we've got early booking discounts on these locations. I think those discounts are going to be over by the 1st or 2nd of January. So it's definitely the time to think about this, figure out if you can make it work. And, you know, if you need a payment plan, this is a really great way to spread it out so that by the time you are departing, you're all paid up, ready to go, and you can enjoy yourself. So Tuscany, another absolutely fantastic location. All right, we are only a couple of weeks away from our New Year's Eve sew-along event. This is the event of the year that we all look forward to with Sally Tomato. Sally Tomato has created an exclusive new pattern for this event, just like we do every year. This will be our 6th New Year's Eve sew-along, so you must join along. It's going to be so fun. It is 4 hours of sewing in real time, taking you through the new Lamont bag. Lamont is named after Lena Lamont from Singing in the Rain. And if you're familiar with Sally Tomato patterns, you know that they name their patterns after famous movie stars and movie characters. And it's just another thing that I love about them. It's such a great idea. So Lamont is the bag that you are going to take everywhere. It is great for just every day, going to the grocery store, going for a jog. The strap is completely customizable as far as length and how you want to wear it. I'm looking around because I can't find mine, but actually I see it right now. And I will be traveling with mine, so it's good that it's here and not in Germany right now. But at any rate, I made this. Speaking of batiks, this is really giving batik vibes. So this is the version that I made. Event, I'm going to be making the Urban Explorer, which is the black gray version of Lamont, and it is made out of a faux waxed canvas. So if you've ever worked with actual waxed canvas before, it can be kind of a pain because it has that waxy coating on it. And so all the markings on it, it's meant to really mimic faux leather because you can crunch it up and then the, excuse me, and then the wax gets kind of crunchy too. So you see every little fold and all of that. And so it really looks like faux leather, like a distressed faux leather. So with faux waxed canvas, it already has all those markings on it, but it doesn't have that waxy coating. So I really love this fabric. So I'm going to be making the Urban Explorer during the event. But at any rate, this has some great zipper pockets. This is our outer zipper pocket. And then this, you know, goes into the main part of the bag, of course. It's pretty roomy in there. And then there is sort of a secret pocket on the back side of the bag too. So as you're carrying this, whether on the front or the back of you, you have that extra kind of protection of your secret pocket right there. And then as far as the strap goes, obviously you can adjust it to however you like to wear it with this great little bucket slide. It actually gets really long and you could almost just wear it like a crossbody style bag if you didn't want to go with the backpack look. And you can also switch up where you want to clip your strap to. So whether you want to carry it on your right side, your left side, you can switch that up, which is just the greatest little detail. Love that. And then of course we have our in the hoop accessories, which we will also be making in real time on New Year's Eve. We've got our mini zip pouch with the Adventure Awaits design. I will also be teaching you how to swap out this design if you want to feature something else on your mini zip pouch. And same goes for the key fob. If you want to stitch it out exactly as it comes, you will have this starburst design in the thread color of your choice, of course. Or you can swap that out for a monogram or some other design of your choice. We will go through all of that on New Year's Eve. We will start sewing at 12 noon Eastern time on New Year's Eve. So make sure if you're in another time zone, you write down the correct time zone. As long as you're registered, you will get notified a couple of days in advance, as well as some reminders right before we're going to go live. So those reminders will be in your time zone. So as long as you're paying attention to that and you've marked your calendar, you can join us live. If you can't join us live or you need to leave early or come in late, something like this, or if you want to review the information or watch the video at any time, you can just go into the event page after the live stream ends and view the recording. And that recording never expires. You will always have access to that event page with the patterns, the embroidery designs, the video, everything, as long as you have an account at sewingonline.sulky.com. All right, and you can register for this by using the link that I put in the description of today's post. All right, perfect. So, shall we get to today's project? It is such a quick and easy project, but I know that sometimes embroidery on plush fabrics can be a little intimidating. So with the right setup, the right recipe for success, if you will, I am confident that you will have great success at the sewing machine or at the embroidery machine, really. So our scarf today, it does not take very much fabric at all either, which is another reason why this makes such a great last-minute gift idea. Also, you can change this up in so many different ways. You can have longer or shorter fringe, or no fringe for that matter. You can create a super wide scarf or a narrow scarf. So if you want to get a lot of scarves out of just 1 yard of fleece fabric is usually 58 to 60 inches wide. So we are going to use that width of fabric for our scarf length, and then you can cut your scarf as wide as you would like it. So for this particular scarf, I think it's cut about 10 or 12 inches wide. You could even go smaller than that. If you have a little one that you want to make a scarf for, or you want to, tuck it into a stocking, make it a stocking stuffer, you can create this just 4 or 5 inches wide for a little person. And you would get so many scarves out of 1 yard of fabric, right? 8 or 9 scarves if they're 4 inches wide, right? However, we are going to create this assuming it's for an adult. So I think about 10 to 12 inches wide is pretty good for a scarf. Also, I like when the raw edges kind of roll to the back side of the scarf a little bit. So I like it a little bit wider. I also cut one even wider than that just to kind of test it out. This one, let me just see just exactly. This one is 13 inches wide. And actually, I think it is quite wide. So if you do like to kind of, I don't know, have a little bit more to work with, you could certainly go up to 13 or even 15 inches wide and have a much wider scarf. So now that I'm thinking about this, if this one is 13, the one in this picture is probably more like 8 inches wide. Okay. All that being said, choose the width of the scarf that you desire. You only need one layer of fabric. Fleece is the same from the, right side to the wrong side as far as any patterning would be. So what I also like about today's tutorial is you can get a patterned fleece and choose like an embossed embroidery design, which is what these cute little paw prints are. And they don't really disappear into the fabric print. Or you could certainly go with a solid color fleece and do a really colorful embroidery design. So that is obviously up to you and up to the recipient's interests and all of those things. All right, so materials for our scarf. We've got our fleece figured out. Now we need to talk about thread. So a lot of people for outerwear and clothing, they prefer using our 40 weight poly deco thread for machine embroidery. Really, it just, I guess, holds up a little bit better to the elements than our 40 weight rayon does. Me personally, I have not experienced like any difference, honestly, between the two as far as using them for garments go. But I'm also not, bleaching all of my garments all the time or leaving things out in the sunshine. If you're doing something like that, let's say you're embroidering a plush towel and you want to use it for beach days, I would definitely choose a poly deco over a rayon in that case, because your towel is going to be out in the sunshine. It's going to be subjected to chlorine and things from the pool. And the poly deco is just going to combat those things better than the rayon. Okay. But for something like this, a winter scarf, I went with rayon. Honestly, rayon's like my go-to for machine embroidery. It always has been. But if polyester is more your thing, you can certainly choose our poly deco thread. They are both 40 weight threads. They look almost identical to each other. In fact, they come in almost all of the same colors as well. So I think it really boils down to personal preference as far as rayon versus poly deco. But in those cases of, I want to bleach this all the time, maybe it's a baby onesie that you are embroidering, go with poly deco. Something that's going to be out in the sun, patio chairs, things like that, go with poly deco. That's just, I guess, my rhyme or reason behind why you would choose one over the other. This is a beautiful assortment of rayon threads that I'm showing you here. It's our 10 most popular colors assortment. I love grabbing up assortment packs of thread because you always have these sort of basic colors that are included in a lot of designs. And then you can kind of fill in the blanks with the shading and colors that are additional in your embroidery designs. But whenever there's a thread sale, I say grab up an assortment. You save some money when you grab up a bundle of thread versus buying individual spools. And if you go with our 10 most popular colors, things like that, this is why we label them as such. Then you have a good idea of colors that are almost always included in a lot of design files. Obviously the whites, the blacks, stock up on those when we're having sales because you know you're always going to need those colors. But this is one of my favorite assortments because it has all of those sort of jewel tones, almost a rainbow array of colors plus some neutrals. So I think it's a really smart buy. Also, along with our thread, of course, we need needles. So for fleece, fleece is like categorized as a stretch fabric. It does almost always have some stretch to it, whether it's a 4-way stretch or a 2-way stretch. So you don't want a super sharp pointed needle like a top stitch, for example. We want a needle that has a slight ball point to it. And believe it or not, embroidery needles have a slight ball point to them. I didn't know that for the longest time until I started studying the anatomy of all of these different needle types. So embroidery needles, perfectly suitable for things like fleece and knit fabrics, as well as wovens. I think that's what makes them so sort of universal for a lot of different embroidery projects. So for the 40 weight rayon thread, we can use either a 7511 or a 9014 needle. You know, typically I would say we don't want the needle eye to be too big for the thread weight that's passing through it. We want it to just fit in there. So I actually prefer a 7511 needle when I'm using 40 weight thread, whether it's rayon or polydeco. But sometimes I will go up a needle size if I'm working with a thicker fabric, such as a fleece or a canvas. And really that has to do with I need the needle to be a little bit bigger to pierce a larger hole or to make sure that there's enough space created by that needle for the thread to pass through. So for this fleece project today, however, I would say either size needle is going to work for you. You might want to go with a 9014 if your fleece is ultra thick, but if it's just kind of standard weight fleece, you could use the 7511. Another great thing I like to show on So What all the time is if you are ever unsure of the size of needle to use with your thread weight, maybe you are experimenting with a new thread weight, something like that. Before you even get your needle on the sewing machine, thread it with your thread, okay? Once you have done that, I'm just going to use a 40 weight thread here. Once you have threaded the needle, what you want to do is run your needle along the length of the thread. If it is going down the thread without getting hung up, that means the thread is not too thick for the needle eye. Now, I could try to see if I can get a thicker thread on this same needle, which is a 7511. So I don't even think this 12 weight thread, I don't even think I'll be able to thread it. That's another really good indicator. If you try to thread the needle eye and your thread just nothing to it won't go in there, it's not big enough for your thread. All right, so the 12 weight thread, barely I can get it threaded. All right, so watch how, look, see how it's stuck? It won't even go down the thread unless I force it to. So what's going to happen if I'm sewing with this? My thread is probably going to keep breaking on me because the needle eye is not large enough for the thread weight. Does that make sense? All right, so very, very good tip if you are ever unsure about your needle size. Okay, so we've got our fleece, we've got our thread, and we've got our needles. What about our stabilizer? So first we need our base stabilizer. This is going to be what's in our hoop. And we are going to do what is called hoopless embroidery, meaning we are only hooping the stabilizer. We are not hooping the fleece. Now, you might have magnetic hoops. Magnetic hoops are basically, they're made of two magnets that come together like this. They sandwich your fabric and your stabilizer. So they allow you to hoop things like fleece and denim and canvas, which with your standard hoops, where you have one hoop that fits inside of the other, instead of matching up, one fits inside of the other, those fabrics would either be too thick to hoop or they would be damaged from the hooping process. In the case of fleece, fleece will be damaged from the hooping process. Most often what happens is what's called hoop burn, where the hoop actually burns a ring into the fabric. And most oftentimes that is irreversible. So things with a high pile like fleece, like velvet, things with a nap, those can suffer from hoop burn just from the pressure of that inner hoop being inserted into the outer hoop. So instead what we do is we hoop the stabilizer only, and then we secure the item or the fabric to the stabilizer using temporary spray adhesive, clear embroidery tape, basting in the hoop functions, things like that. And that way the item still is stabilized with the stabilizer, so there's no puckering and your design stitches out perfectly, but it doesn't suffer from any hoop burn or getting damaged in any way by the hooping process. Now, if you do have magnetic hoops, you can hoop things like fleece. I will say though, for this project, we are hooping the scarf after it's been cut. That is allowing us to actually conserve some fabric and to get really good placement of the design on the scarf. So if you have a scrap of fleece that's 4 inches long, you're like, what am I going to do with this? Make a scarf out of it. You still can hoop things that are too small for the hoop in a magnetic hoop. I just find it's more difficult to get it centered in the magnetic hoop and then get it nice and flat without stretching it, because as I mentioned, the fleece has some stretch to it. Even though sometimes it'll feel like, oh, this fleece has a backing to it, it's very stable, still has some stretch to it. That's just how it's made. So I just err on the side of caution. I leave it out of whether I'm using a magnetic hoop or a standard hoop. I just never hoop fleece at all. Okay. So what I like to use, my go-to stabilizer for a scarf where I'm going to see the wrong side when the scarf is worn, and I don't want my stabilizer to show, I like to use a wash-away stabilizer as my base stabilizer. And I'm sure there are some of you out there going, what are you talking about? You need to use a cutaway stabilizer on a stretch fabric, especially a fleece. Okay, hear me out. I've tried it many, many ways, and quite honestly, I really prefer Sulky Solvy on a project like this where I'm going to see the wrong side. I don't like that little edge of cutaway stabilizer. Even if I use soft and sheer and it's very soft and it blends in, I much prefer the Solvy. So the school of thought behind using a cutaway, especially on a stretch fabric, is that over the life of the project, over all the washing and wearing that something like a garment is going to undergo, that stabilizer is always there. So when the garment stretches and gets tossed around in the washing machine and things like that, that stabilizer is always supporting the thread. So nothing ever comes loose, nothing ever gets warped by getting stretched and things like this. So I completely understand for something like a fleece pullover, a fleece zip-up jacket, something like this, I would use a cutaway stabilizer, okay? But for this particular scarf, where we're pretty much always going to see the wrong side, you never know where the wind's going to blow and show the wrong side of your scarf. And quite honestly, it's not going to be under a lot of stress, right? We're not taking a scarf and stretching it every which way. We're just putting it around our neck, maybe tying it a little bit. So I take all these things into account when I'm figuring out what stabilizer to use. I tried the Solvy. It worked beautifully. It supported all the dent stitching of this knockdown or embossed embroidery design that I chose. And I guess we'll see how it holds up over time. I wouldn't go to the finished scarf after the Solvy is all washed away and just forcibly stretch it in all directions, because that's just not how I intend to use the finished project. Does that make sense? So what I like about Solvy is it has a fabric-like feel to it. So even though it's very thin, it has like the feel of fabric. So when you're adding it to this fleece, it gives it a very stable base. Also, it's completely water soluble. So when our scarf is complete, we can rinse it under warm running water, or we can throw it in a rinse and spin cycle in the washing machine, and all the stabilizer is removed. I particularly love this for an embossed design, because what's happening in an embossed design or a knockdown design is the thread almost has like a woven looking structure to it. Some of the threads are going this way, some are going this way to knock down the pile of the fabric and leave this beautiful design. Some knockdown designs have outline stitches that actually outline the pile of your fabric, so the fabric becomes the design and the knockdown or embossed stitches become the background. So they can be really, really cool looking designs. You can do bunnies and bears where you're only stitching the eyes and then the outline of the bear. And then the fur of the bear is actually the pile of the fabric. So I highly suggest check out these embossed or knockdown designs when you're working with things like fleece, terry cloth, fabric. Like this is like a Sherpa. This would look really cool with an embossed design on it. So check those out. They work really, really beautifully with fleece and things like that. All right, so Solvy on the bottom. We need something to secure our fabric to the Solvy. So you can use Sulky KK2000, and that's going to temporarily secure the fabric to this stabilizer. You can also opt to use sticky Solvy instead. Sticky Solvy is just like Solvy, except, you guessed it, it's sticky. It has a paper release sheet on one side, so when you remove that sheet, it is tacky. Then you can just take your fleece and stick it to the tacky side of the Solvy once you have aligned, your design center markings and all those good things. And then you don't need the additional temporary spray adhesive. It's just going to be stuck on there. A couple things about using this method instead of Solvy. If you do have something like a Sherpa or toweling with a really loopy, or a nap where it has almost like these individual tufts to it, rather than fleece, which are all like basically compressed fibers, right? If you are using something like that, I would not use the sticky Solvy, because when you go to remove your item and you're peeling the sticky away to kind of trim it away, you can kind of pull on those loopy fibers and it can be a problem. The only other thing I could say is you can keep all the sticky intact if you are using a really plush fabric, or if you go to peel it away and you notice, oh no, that's going to snag or that's going to pull some of the terry cloth out, leave it intact entirely and then rinse it all away together without trimming any of the excess first. All of this sticky Fabri-Solvy will then wash away and you don't have to worry about, peeling anything away or anything happening to those fibers. Does that make sense? All right, so 2 options for stabilizer. And then we also need a topper. So anytime we are embroidering on these plush fabrics with a nap, we need a topper that's going to help our thread sit on top of the fabric surface instead of sinking into those plush fibers. So if you've ever tried to embroider something without a topper that needed one, you know what I'm talking about. I've actually seen some towels in the stores that I can tell were embroidered without a topper, because what happens is all of those fibers, all of that nap, all of the texture can kind of hide your embroidery stitches. So you lose all the detail in the design. Even with an embossed design, it's important to have a topper. I have done comparisons with and without a topper to make it really clear why you need to show one. I wish I would have loaded those images into today's event, but you can always go to our blog at blog.sulky.com and just search up Solvy. You will find so many tutorials and benefits of using toppers and great photo imagery and things like that there as well. It's a great resource. So at any rate, we need a topper. And guess what? Sulky Solvy is today's giveaway for one lucky So What viewer who is watching, commenting, giving me those emojis, somehow engaging with the post today. That's all you have to do. We will randomly select a winner to receive a 3-yard pack of Sulky Solvy. That's right. So you can go embroider all the plushy, fleecy things that you desire. All right, so now we've got all of our stabilizers ready to go. And first we are going to create our no-sew scarf. Then we're going to embroider it. So quite honestly, the easiest project known to man, okay? We are going to take our fleece, which is however wide we've cut it by the width of fabric, and we're just going to cut fringe into both of the short ends. So to make things really, really easy, you're going to measure up from each short end about 4 inches. I like a 4-inch fringe. You could honestly make your fringe as short or as long as you would like. I think 4 inches is a pretty good sort of benchmark. So you're going to measure up 4 inches and place a piece of tape, or you can just place a chalk mark down the 4-inch line. I like to use a piece of tape because quite honestly, I don't know if you can see in this image, let me make it bigger. So there's a piece of tape at the 4-inch mark. Can you all see that? And then along the tape, you are going to mark every 1/2 inch across your scarf width. Isn't that great? And then after all of your markings are done and you've cut all of your fleece 1/2 inch wide by 4 inches long for your fringe, after you've cut all of your fringe, you carefully remove that tape and all of your markings have disappeared. So that's just a really great little way to avoid having to remove all of those marks. You can also certainly use a rotary cutter, clear ruler, and a self-healing cutting mat, and you can just go and cut 1/2 inch strips up 4 inches without really having to do that marking trick. So the choice is yours about, how methodical you want to be about your fringe width. Quite honestly, it's fringe, so if some of them are a little bit less than a 1/2 inch, some are a little bit more, no one's gonna notice at all. So once you have your fringe cut, your scarf is done. That's it. So now we get to embroider it and personalize it and really, gild the lily on the present. Okay. So once we have that, we're going to take our chosen embroidery design. I thought this was just a really great design, and really, honestly, I could have embroidered the whole length of the scarf. That's how easy and quick it was to embroider. But it's a nice shape. I think that this design that I chose, which I linked to directly in the description of today's post, so you can find that cute little paw print embossed design from Embroidery Library. I think it is about 3 inches wide and then maybe about 7 or 8 inches in height. So it spans a good amount of the scarf, but a monogram would look great here. I was even considering doing an applique monogram design where I would take another color of fleece or maybe even sulky felty and use that for the applique fabric. I just thought that would be super cute with, a monogram design, maybe some cute florals around it. You just don't want to go too detailed with, stitch fills and things like that. But again, embossed designs work great. So on fleece, as long as you have a topper, you should be able to choose from myriad design options. So once you've loaded your design into your machine, we're going to hoop just a layer of that Fabri-Solvy. If you are using sticky Fabri-Solvy, you will hoop your sticky Fabri-Solvy with the paper side facing up. And what I like to do is, instead of exposing the sticky surface on the entire hooped area, what I like to do is direct my machine to stitch a based around design function. You may or may not have that function on your machine. If you do not, you can print out a template of your design, or you can simply mark the design dimensions onto your stabilizer using your hoop markings as a guideline. But you'll take that or the based around design function, stitch that design function only on the stabilizer, then remove your hoop from the machine, and then score along the basting stitches. Then remove that paper backing, revealing the sticky surface underneath. And yes, you can use a Sulky Sticky Plus slitting pen, which I never have next to me for some reason. You can use that slitting pen to score the paper backing. It is manufactured to only somehow slice through that paper backing without slicing the stabilizer underneath. It's just a really cool tool. So score away the paper, pull it off to reveal the adhesive. That way you don't have adhesive everywhere, right? It's only right behind the design. All right. So whether you're using Fabri-Solvy, you'll do it this way. Sticky Fabri-Solvy, you'll do it the other way and score that paper to reveal the adhesive. So on the Fabri-Solvy, I don't know if you can see this. I'll try to make it a little bit bigger. First, I stitched that design perimeter basting stitch in the white. You see that? So if we were doing that on the sticky Fabri-Solvy, we would score along that line to reveal the adhesive. I use that box as a placement tool for placing my fleece onto the stabilizer. So first I stitch that basting box and then I remove my hoop from the machine. And just so that I can really see my design cross marks, I use chalk or a removable fabric marker, and I mark my center axis lines right onto the stabilizer. Then I can place my scarf onto the stabilizer and have a really great picture of exactly where my design is going to stitch onto the fleece. So I can place my fringe where I want it, the bottom edge of my design. I want to have a good margin, right, between my fleece and the lower edge of my design. So you can also mark those cross marks on your scarf. If you have a design that is a little bit more specific, you know, mine was like paw prints. So even if my scarf was a little bit askew, you'd never know with the design that I chose. But if you have a monogram, you really want it straight, I would suggest also marking your fleece and then lining up those cross marks from the stabilizer and from the fleece before you use that KK2000 to secure your fleece to the stabilizer. So obviously, if you're using the sticky Fabri-Solvy, you won't need the KK2000. You can just stick your scarf in place. All right, so then we have it ready to go, but it needs one thing. Who's got it? The topper. So we're going to use a little bit more of that KK2000 to place our solvy right over the top of our fleece. And you want to smooth it really nicely over the top of your fleece fabric. And when you do use KK2000 to secure a topper, you want to spray your topper rather than spraying your fabric. When you spray the topper, when you go to remove it, the spray goes with the topper. But if you were to spray your fleece and then place your topper, the fleece is going to absorb some of that temporary spray adhesive, and you're going to have to wait for it to dissipate. You know, it's air soluble, so it will dissipate into the air, but it does take about 48 to 72 hours. So important that you spray the topper rather than spraying the fleece when you are adding that to your hooped sandwich. All right. Now we can go ahead and put our hoop onto the machine and embroider the design. So this I'm going to enlarge too, so you can see that fill stitch of those embossed designs. You see how it's almost like basket weave, or, you know, these crosshatch sort of fill stitches. It's really knocking that pile down from the fleece so that it's extra plushy around all of those design elements. So I love the look of this design. I think it's so cute. It really goes with, you know, the animal print fleece that I was able to find for a special friend who really loves animal print everything. All right, so when your design is complete, this design only had 2 colors to it, so super simple, really quick stitch out. You'll remove your hoop from the machine, and I like to remove my topper while everything is still in the hoop. I just feel like, you know, everything is secured in that hoop. It's so easy to tear away as much of the topper as we can. And don't worry about the little bits, because you can clean those up with water when you're removing the Fabri-Solvy. The rest of your solvy will also wash away. So don't worry too much about it if you have, you know, an open design with little solvy bits inside of there. Just leave them alone, because quite honestly, if you try to go in there with scissors or tweezers or something like that, you could harm the fabric in those areas, and we don't want that, especially after all of this beautiful stitch out that we've added. So now we need to trim away the excess Fabri-Solvy from the wrong side of the scarf. And you're just going to get, you know, as close as comfortable to the outer perimeter stitching of your design without coming into contact with it. And then it's just a matter of removing that stabilizer. So warm running water. You want the water rushing off of the project so nothing kind of pools or accumulates over the top. Or you can throw it in a rinse and spin cycle in your washing machine. Or quite honestly, you could throw this in with a load of wash and just wash it with the rest of your stuff. And all of the stabilizer will wash cleanly away, leaving no residue, and it's done. Fluff to dry. You can air dry if you would prefer. Also, depending on the fleece or the fabric that you're using, consult the care recommendations for it, making sure it can withstand everything you're going to put it through after you do your embroidery and stabilizer removal. All right. And then, of course, you can just gift this to a special friend. Like I mentioned, this works for anyone of any gender, any age, anyone on your gift list could use a scarf that's personalized to their interests. Check out licensed designs too if they really love a particular character or superhero or something like this. Sometimes you can find some licensed embroidery designs that really look like they were store-bought, but of course they were made with love by you, and super simple, super easy, and super fun to put together. So I hope that this gives you all a great last minute gift idea for someone that you love on your gift list. If you still have some things to create, this is a really easy one to just knock out. It's really great for teachers as well. You can create a scarf for every teacher in your kids' lives and personalize them all in a little bit different way. Even if they're all made out of the same fleece yardage, they will still look different based on the embroidery that you choose. All right, so you can also, of course, apply these techniques to other fleece projects, plushie projects as well. And I highly encourage you to check out these really great embossed designs, or applique embroidery designs would look really, really great for this project as well. It's a great way to personalize something and, of course, add your handmade touch to a gift this holiday season. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining me today. I look forward to connecting with you next Tuesday on another So What? And stay warm, and I'll see you next time.